I'm really not gonna lie, I feel like Eleanor Neale right now. Now before we get into this video, if you do see me looking down quite a lot, especially in this direction, it's because I've actually got my screen tilted up towards me so I can see the script and basically everything I wrote for this video. I obviously tried to get it as 100% accurate as I do. I probably also have to add a viewer discretion before you get any further into this video. It is a true story, everything is 100% accurate and some of the details are a bit, I guess, intense. So I'm just telling you from that now before you go any further into this video. So if you feel like you're going to be someone who's going to be uneased by some of the topics we're going to be talking about, then maybe just watch some of my other videos, because this is something that I usually do, but I wanted to do it anyway because why not? But yeah, before we dive into obviously what you've clicked on the title, to see my socials are going to be going across the bottom of the screen right now. You can follow me, add me, and follow me, and yeah, that'd be pretty sick, and I would appreciate that a lot because I've been very active on my social medias lately. So yeah, you're gonna want to miss out. Okay, so I'm very honest with you, how this video came about is because I was just scrolling through my timeline and I came across this tweet from the ever so reliable Uber Fact. And if you don't know who Uber Facts are, they also post stuff like this and also stuff like this. So I mean, the reliability levels are somewhat questionable. But back to the original tweet, it states that a depressed 14-year-old from Manchester used several fake online accounts to convince his best friend to murder him, and after surviving the attempt became the first person in the UK history to be charged with inciting their own murder. So initially I didn't plan to make a video on just this sole topic because obviously I thought the fact that they had just posted this was something that happened recently. Doing some research, I found out this was something that happened 14 or 15 years ago, maybe even 16 years ago, because obviously the dates are a bit all over the place. So you know, instead of me being in trending topic mode and talking about stuff that actually happened recently, it looks like I'm getting my true crime crap on, and we're gonna actually dig deep into actually finding out what happened, because obviously there's only so much you can gauge from a 140 character tweet. So like I said, this all happened about 15-16 years ago, and it happened in Manchester, UK to be precise. So there were two boys involved in this, and because they were only 14 and 16, no real names are used. I'm not going to use real names because I don't have any real names to use. So for this scenario, we're going to be calling them Bill, the 14-year-old, and Roger, the 16-year-old. So to set the scene of basically what went down, somehow by using the old online instant messaging service that was so wonderful at the time, and that was MSN, Bill managed to convince Roger into trying and attempting to kill him, and he would be rewarded with £500,000 and also being able to meet the Prime Minister, because this was all some gauge being carried out by the Secret Service. I know at this point it just sounds crazy, but if I'm also honest with you, it's not really a bad cover-up. It was actually what was really going on, and at the same time it's also very saddening because when you realize this was just a boy who was very severely depressed and suicidal, to the point that instead of him, you know, going through that trauma of attempting to, you know, take his own life, he put all of that pressure and all of that thought onto someone else by using the powers of persuasion and manipulation to make him not even realize what he was actually doing. And it's almost just like, I don't even know what to say that someone actually goes to these lengths to do this, but let's just carry on. So when they finally go to court, the judge, whose name is David Madison, he had said skilled writers of fiction would struggle to conjure up a plot such as what arises here. Instead, you could be dealing with a case that arises out of a 14-year-old boy's invention of false personalities, false relationships, and events arranged for his own killing at the hand of a 16-year-old boy who had met via an internet chat room. So just like me at this point, you're probably wondering how Bill, a 14-year-old boy, got himself in a position to convince Roger, a 16-year-old, to attempt to potentially kill him. So if you go and grab your phone right now and you go type a brand new text message and you type in that message, "Hey, how are you? Are you free tomorrow?" That is roughly about one line of text, depending on obviously how big your font is, depending on your screen size, but we're going to say that's roughly about 3/4 to one line of a text. Now between these two boys, there was 58,000 lines of text spanning over a 6-week period from when they first spoke to when they finally met and to when the incident actually occurred. And within all these lines of text, Bill was able to convince Roger that he was doing a good thing and to manipulate him to not even considering the fact that him carrying out this act could potentially see him throwing his whole life away. So Bill and Roger initially first came into contact via a chat room, but Bill was actually pretending to be a 16-year-old girl who had actually claimed to be Bill's stepbrother, and she then actually introduced Bill and Roger to each other. So there were quite a few other personas that Roger had actually started talking to via this chat room, roughly about 5 or 6, And as you can kind of guess where I'm going with this, all 5 or 6 of these other personas were also being played by Bill. Now, if I'm very honest with you, I actually don't know how he pulled this off, because if you go back to that time period, dial-up internet was basically the main internet everyone had. So we had dial-up internet, then we moved to copper internet, which is also known as broadband, and then now most people have fiber optic. Now, I don't think you understand how slow dial-up internet was compared to what most people have nowadays, which is fiber optic. And the fact that he would have having to be switching all these personas constantly to have conversations with Roger, it's not like Twitter where you can just, on the fly, one account to another and carry on have a conversation, and all these different logging in and logging out. Wouldn't it have been as simple as just literally clicking a button, typing your username, password and clicking? It would have taken a considerable amount of time, and it also would have been taking a considerable amount of time to make sure that at no point did he actually confuse what persona he was using at the time, and not actually basically baiting himself out by saying the wrong thing, pretending to be someone else to Roger, and obviously then blowing his whole cover. Which, when you put it like that, it kind of does make this whole thing sadder that one person, and let me stress, it was just a 14-year-old, went through so much effort just to get to the point where he could, take his own life. Now, as you can imagine, all these conversations started fairly normal until they took a kind of more sinister turn, and this was when another persona was introduced. I'm not sure if this was introduced at the beginning or if it was introduced, along the way that they were talking, and this was the persona of a 42-year-old woman who went by the name of Janet, who claimed she was working for the Secret Services and she targeted Roger specifically. Now, this is how it basically took a very sharp turn from, having a conversation and getting to know someone to actually then wanting to actually kill them. Now, this is because Bill's persona of Janet convincing Roger she worked for the Secret Services. Now, with Bill's persona of Janet, she was able to convince Roger that he would eventually become a spy if he was able to complete certain tasks that would obviously build up to him actually being able to work for the Secret Services himself. And one of these tasks was actually to kill Bill. Now, it wasn't as plain of a tea as simply saying you have to kill Bill to join the Secret Services. There was a kind of more of a backstory to it, the fact that she was telling Roger that Bill was actually suffering from a terminal brain tumor and he eventually was going to die, but he wanted to just simply be put out of his misery because, stuff like euthanasia is not something that you can do in the UK. And he was told that by completing this, he would be rewarded with £500,000 in cash, and that he would be meeting the Prime Minister, and that nothing bad would happen to him, and that he wouldn't be charged or given a criminal record for murdering Bill. Could you stab someone? Janet asked Roger in a final chat room exchange. I haven't really thought about it, replied. Well, think please. And Roger replied, okay. This is actually the last conversation which Roger had with anybody before what happened 24 hours later in Manchester. The stabbing itself occurred in a location not too far from the traffic centre, because this is actually where they had met initially, and it was quoted in court that Roger had actually said to Bill, "I love you, bro," before plunging the knife into him. And this is probably most likely due to the shock that Bill actually screamed the words "I'm dying" while the knife was in him, and obviously Roger tried his best to silence him to obviously not draw attention to it. Now, at this point, I'm probably guessing that both of the boys were in shock that, I guess they didn't really know the practice of what actually happens when you stab someone, and the fact that initial stabbing Roger had done to Bill hadn't really done much to him, and the fact that Bill, was very conscious as he was before. Probably still in pain, but very conscious. He stabbed him in the second time, but I'm again guessing that he probably stabbed him in the exact same place because they were talking and conversating while the knife was plunged in his stomach, not realizing that for this to obviously progress and get any more serious, the knife would actually have to be removed, so Bill would obviously start bleeding out, and that is obviously the first thing that leads to you becoming unconscious because you're losing blood at a rapid rate. It's reported that maybe as many as 20 minutes had passed before Roger actually did pull the knife out of Bill, but instantly he called an ambulance and police. Now, of course, over the phone when they had asked what had happened, he said that a completely unprovoked attack from an older man had happened, and he had no idea why this man had stabbed him, but he had stabbed his friend and he had run off. And if it wasn't for some convenient place CCTV cameras, then this cover-up may have lasted forever, and the truth of this story may have actually never come out. One of the other giving signs is that there was also CCTV footage of the two boys earlier purchasing the said knife that was actually used by Roger to stab Bill. And it wasn't too long before Roger was obviously sentenced for attempted murder and Bill was sentenced for enticing his own murder, and it's one of the only reported cases where this sentence has actually been handed out in the UK. Roger was given a minimum sentence of 2 years, and for Bill, it's not actually entirely sure how long he was sentenced for, because of course I don't think I have the facilities to actually search to find this case, because of course, one, I don't really really know what their real names are to search for them, and 2, I don't think they actually publicise details of cases involving minors, so I actually have no idea of how long Bill was sentenced for. But the judge did say that under normal circumstances, the offences committed would have usually resulted in extremely lengthy custodial sentences, but these cannot be described as normal circumstances. So you can imagine it probably wasn't long before both of these boys were reintroduced into the real world. But as you can also imagine that there was some strict restrictions in place. One was that they were not allowed to use the internet unless they were under extreme adult supervision, and the other was that neither boy were allowed to contact each other. Now, I mean, it's kind of hard to, actually thought process what had actually going on, and it's kind of hard to be harder on one or the other, because I mean, one person has obviously stabbed someone and nearly killed them, the other one has been able to mentally almost brainwash and convince someone that committing a murder would then be doing a good thing. The judges actually did say that they do see Bill as more of the criminal in this situation, but they obviously have both committed crime. So if you made it to the end of this video, there's going to be a poll in the top corner somewhere in one of these corners, and I'm basically asking you, who do you think is more of the criminal in this situation, Bill or Roger? But apart from that, this is going to be the end of the video. I mean, this is my first ever true crime video. Like I said, it kind of came about randomly, and I don't think this is going to be something I'm going to be doing regularly. I may talk about more crimes and stuff in the future in other videos, but I don't plan to become a true crime YouTuber. But I mean, who knows? So yeah, my socials are going to be going across the bottom of the screen right now, so make sure to follow me and add me. And apart from that, this has been your boy Jay, and I will see you next time.